Welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. My name is Chief here, and joining me today is Mike Honcho and Jalen. We're doing a little recap here of Louisiana versus Coastal Carolina. The Cajuns avenged themselves from the 2020 Sun Belt Championship game that should have been played. If you want to look at my rant that I did during that COVID season, you might dig a little bit, but it's on our Facebook page, YouTube page. You can find it anywhere on our, social media channels there. Without further ado, let me introduce everybody to Mike Concho and Jalen. How you doing today, fellas?
Doing fantastic.
Hey, I'm doing well, Chief. Doing well, Mike. What's going on? What's going on? But also, for the record, the Cajuns were going to win that game. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I believe so as well. That was I think it was a stolen one. I think Coastal Carolina ran from that game for sure. My
Yeah,
humble.
Cajuns definitely would have won that one.
Yeah, but that's 4 years ago. I'm talking about 2024. We don't live in the past anymore. So anyway, Mike, thoughts about uh, Saturday's game against Coastal?
So I don't know. I'm sure y'all remember me going on my rant about how if the Cajuns are going to win another game this year, and sure enough, they shut me up in a matter of a few weeks, and it's been a wild ride these past few weeks. But it was a good game. The things that upset me Saturday was the penalties. That seems to be a problem we consistently have with penalties. And the lack of tackling seemed to be another problem. But overall, a solid performance by the Cajuns. And I mean, if they get that kind of performance as a team, I think the Cajuns have a good chance to do some damage.
Well, apparently they're listening to you, Mike. I mean, they're really determined to prove you wrong week in and week out here.
Right? That's
Uh,
what it sounds like.
I mean, but look, if you look at our score thing, we were pretty close on it. I mean, mostly everybody. I mean, we haven't really missed really bad. I mean, any of the um, games that we have posted our graphic on that we started doing here. Jalen, any thoughts on this past Saturday?
Yeah, thoughts. I'm proud of the Cajuns because I know we talked about before how they was going to back-to-back away games at Coastal, at Texas State. Before we even get to Texas State, talk about Coastal. Great team win. I think Ben played one of his best games he's played at quarterback for the Cajuns. That was just a great game. There was surprisingly no turnovers in the game that I saw. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong against Coastal, but didn't really see any turnovers. And shout out to Terrence Carter, man. I mean, he came into the year. People were trying to figure out who was going to replace Neil Johnson at tight end, and the Cajuns have their answer. It's Terrence Carter. So that was good. Like that catch to seal the game, that touchdown, that was beautiful. I was up here jumping. I was like, oh my God. Like he caught it. And not only did he catch it, he scored. That was fantastic. Overall, great team win.
What I saw Saturday was if you look at it this way, Ben Woodridge's favorite target is Terrence Carter. This is his second consecutive 100 receiving yard performance here. He looks like a man against boys out there. Saturday, especially here, he had 7 receptions on 8 targets. So Woodridge is looking his way, and I expect him to continue this great season that he's having. He's on a hot streak right now, and feed him the ball. I mean, I think that's the best way to put it here. They don't have an answer for him. He's caught 4 touchdown passes in 7 games. He ranks 6th in the Sun Belt with 465 receiving yards. So he is definitely a guy that Ben Woodridge is definitely looking forward to. And I mean, he did a really good job. Also, got to give some props to Elijah Bill Davis. He had 150 yards from scrimmage in that game against Coastal, 19 carries for 110 yards, and he hauled 6 of 7 targets for 52 yards as well. And he did end up hitting pay dirt against Coastal, which the Cajuns, as you know, as we posted multiple times, um, throughout all the games this season, Davis so far has rushed for 509 yards, and he has 4 total touchdowns, which is a credit to great numbers, by the way, whenever you look at this Cajun offense and whenever you start looking at the 3-headed monster they have at running back, Zylan Perry and Draylon Washington as well. Even though Draylon Washington did get hurt a little bit earlier this season, Elijah Davis Elijah Bill Davis really, has, I think he's like he was a very featured back in the backfield against Coastal for sure, and was able to, pick up solid yards. Whenever you're averaging 4 or 5 yards a carry, it puts a lot of pressure on the defense to try to stop the running game, and that's what the Cajuns did against um, Coastal Carolina there, as they're able to defeat them here. So, we got Texas State coming up, fellas. But I want you all to look at something that I think that a lot of people may not be looking at too much here, because we got to start to talk here. November is when you win your championships, but you got to get through October to set up a great November. Am I correct?
I agree.
Yeah.
So let's look at this here. I'm going to share to my screen here so y'all can see here. This is the Sun Belt Conference standings here. Georgia Southern leading the East. Got Marshall right on their tail in Old Dominion. Old Dominion did pick up a great win against Texas State this past weekend. Cajuns and UOM, even though the Cajuns did play one more game over UOM, the Cajuns don't play this Saturday coming up. But we're going to be looking at UOM for sure here. And they're right there with the Cajuns, 3-0. Mike, what you think about this Western Division so far this season?
So if you'd have told me at the beginning of the year that there was a chance Monroe would be at the top of the standings, I'd have called you crazy and a lunatic. And yet here we are, Monroe being um, at the top of the standings with the Cajuns. It catch me by surprise. Texas State, like I said, lost to Old Dominion this weekend. We were expecting a little bit more out of them. South Alabama's a hit and miss team, and we knew Troy lost a lot of players and their coach, but we didn't expect Troy to fall this far down. So it's been a wild ride in the Sun Belt.
Jalen, what you think about this Western Division so far this year?
Yeah, the West is not what I thought it was going to be. I agree with Mike. I had no idea that ULM was going to be top of the standings, right there with the Cajuns. Knew the Cajuns would be there, obviously, but didn't know ULM would be right there with them. Arkansas State, they're still looks like they're trying to still find their way. Texas State lost to Old Dominion. Didn't think that was going to happen, and then you have South Alabama. They're up and down. Troy did lose their coach, lost a lot of pieces, so we kind of figured. Southern Miss recently just fired their head coach because of their 1-6 in the year so far. So it's the bottom of the barrel is kind of what we kind of figured, but at the top of it, top three teams, it's like, okay, well, shout out to ULM and Arkansas State for being right there with the Cajuns.
I look at this standings here, and obviously UOM does jump off the list. The surprise team. There's always one in the Sun Belt, it seems like, that seems to, cause mayhem and havoc out there, if you will. And that is UOM this year. And we might be playing for a Sun Belt West title in Monroe this year. That is getting to be a very real possibility as the weeks go by here. Looking ahead at the Cajun schedule to see how this could set up here. You got an ESPN2 game in San Marcos here. State at home, South Alabama home, and then you got 3 straight home games, and then you lead into UOM. I think the Cajuns take care of business against Troy. I think the Cajuns are pretty like we talked about this, Jalen, when we did our preview show here. Just looking at it here, the Cajuns seemed like they were one of the more complete teams when we talked about veteran leadership coming back and experience, and how well experience plays a role in this kind of thing here. And that's something that you can't really take for granted here. And I think we're seeing the results of that right now. ULM did add a lot of transfer portal pieces to their team this year. And I'm starting to think that these guys really gel well together at ULM. And we're going to be in for a fight for sure when we get up there to Monroe. Regardless, Cajuns clinch bowl eligibility once again this year, extending that streak we got going on. So, how you're viewing this, Mike, as we look ahead in the schedule?
I mean, like I said, I'm looking at this pretty well. If you'd have told me the Cajuns would be at where they're at now in the season, I would have told you you're lying to me. And yet here they are, and they're only 8 points away from being undefeated against Tulane, who's being considered to possibly have a chance to make it to the playoffs. Um, I think the Cajuns are looking pretty good for the rest of the year, considering the schedule. We thought Texas State was going to be a dominant team, and they've kind of fallen apart a little bit. And then you look at Troy, who's fallen off the face of the earth. Arkansas State's kind of one of those rival games, and so is South Alabama. So those are toss ups, and Monroe is going to be real interesting now, considering where they're at this year.
Jalen, what you think about this upcoming schedule for the Cajuns?
I think honestly it's still tough. Even though they just beat the Coastal Carolina team, they still have to go to Texas State on a Tuesday night on ESPN on a ESPN network. That's going to be a tough. They're at home against Arkansas State. And they're at home against South Alabama and then Troy. But I still think it's still going to be a tough schedule. And even on the year, like you said, Chief, it could possibly be a Sun Belt West title game where the winner wins it between the Louisiana and ULM. So it's still a tough schedule. The Cajuns still have to have their work cut out for them, but if anything, if they play like they did against Coastal Carolina, they have a chance to win all of these games.
You know, we need to just keep playing the way we're playing. I think we're playing. We're just kind of shore up our run defense a little bit, and this is beginning to really look like a championship winning team. It's October. You gotta, we're past the halfway point of the season. Just gotta finish it off. We're like a little bit past there. So from if the Cajuns seem like every week they're getting better. And some teams they fall apart. They look really good at the beginning of the year, then they collapse. So because injuries take, a hold of that, and guys can't replace guys that get injured in that regard there. So with that being said there, I like the way the Cajuns are right now. I think they're in a very good spot for sure to win the Sun Belt Championship here. Looking at the standing thing again, the standings, the Sun Belt standings. Georgia Southern, they're 5-2 and they're 3-0 in conference play. Their next couple of games, if you look at Georgia Southern here, they've played Boise State and at Nevada and South Carolina State and at Ole Miss. That was their non-conference schedule. They have Old Dominion, at South Alabama, Troy, and at Coastal Carolina. Their schedule and App State. Their schedule leans themselves to them theoretically being undefeated if they can in conference play, if they can keep it up there. So that does put more every single game because home field advantage is going to be so important, I think, in a championship setting here. Y'all all were there. Y'all know how it was when Billy Napier and the Cajuns in 2021 played at Cajun Field for a Sun Belt championship, and the atmosphere was electric over there. So that's gonna be really tough there. So, Mike, what you think about Georgia Southern's schedule here? I'm gonna pull it up real quick so y'all can see what I'm looking at here, and it's just gonna be one of those. Like it really lends themselves to being undefeated whenever we get down that way. What you thinking, Mike?
Well, they've also proved me wrong. I know a lot of times at the beginning of the years, for a lot of our earlier shows, I was talking about how Georgia Southern is going to be a surprise team in the East one day, and I think next year is going to be the year. And they said no, it's going to be this year. And I actually watched the game against James Madison, and they looked very good. Their schedule looks easy. Old Dominion did pull off a big win, but I still think they can win that one. The South Alabama's kind of like is going to be a good match. Troy's falling off. Coastal's gonna be a really good game. And that App State's a big rival game, and that one can swing either way. I don't think App State's as good as they have been, but like I said, it's a rival game, so who knows? It can go either.
What you thinking, Jalen?
Yeah, Georgia Southern has an easier path to winning the East than the Cajuns do. trying to win the West. I mean, you look at it, they beat already a team in Georgia State. They beat James Madison. Like I said, Old Dominion's not a slouch. They just beat Texas State, but as we're looking like record wise, like they can beat Old Dominion. South Alabama's falling off. We've seen Troy; they're 1-6, dead last. So the only matchup I really see Georgia Southern really getting some competition really is at Coastal. I mean, App State's fall off a little bit. It could be they could give them some leeway in that game, but at Coastal Carolina, I think that's the marquee game for them. That's saying like, hey, this is the game that I really see them could go either way. Like I can see them lose, but the rest of them it's kind of easier for them. But they're playing great, so this is a great team to do.
I think they could lose that App State game because that's a rivalry game. App State would do whatever it takes to make sure Coastal does not. I mean, not Coastal. Georgia Southern doesn't host a Sun Belt championship game. Championship game. They would love for them to go on the road and just spoil it for their rivals. That's what rivals do to each other. They want to make it as hard as possible for your rival at any given time. So that is something they're going to do here. And it's going to be one of those things, man, that it's going to be tough on App State and Georgia Southern in that game there. They're going to give them everything they got in that game. I can guarantee you that much here. If App State would have lost every single game of the year and they were going down to that last game of the year and they beat Georgia Southern, which would cost them the host, that'd be to App State, that would be a successful season in their mind just because they spoiled it for Georgia Southern. Now, let's take a look at Texas State here. About their team here. So stop sharing my screen, get us back on the screen here. And here are some guys for Texas State that everybody needs to be aware of as we enter their matchup against the Cajuns here. So Jaden Williams is a guy that was heavily featured in this offense here. 6 targets and 5 receptions in Saturday's game against Old Dominion, and he only got 35 yards, but he's heavily targeted in this offense here. So he's going to be one of their lead receivers as well. Joey Hobart, he had 88 yards in catches in receiving yards in that game as well. Hobart was 6 of 9 targets against Old Dominion. So he was highly involved in, the Bobcats' aerial attack. Jordan McLeod was heavily targeting him here. He was able to catch 88 of the passing yards of the team's 173 passing yards there. So, Jordan McLeod, though, he wasn't really efficient in that game, though, either, against Old Dominion, like we were talking about here, only completing 17 of 33 of his passes there. So, around a little bit lower than 50% here. Got 173 yards, 1 touchdown, but he got picked off twice in that game. So, I think as far as it goes here, looking at the season, this might be a one-off game. Hopefully, it isn't. I hope it's a trend here. 86 passing yards and 20 passing touchdowns so far this year, and my dad had 646 rushing yards, and Jordan McLeod's their leading rushing touchdown with 5. Joey Hobart has 499 receiving yards, and he has 7 receiving touchdowns. I think the Cajuns do Texas State in terms of the secondary. The Cajuns' pass defense is their best defense, and because they're ranked 14th in the country. They're only passing yards. Overall defense is ranked 28th. Rush defense, we're 81st. So if Texas State's going to beat the Cajuns, they're going to run the ball against them. The Cajuns, they have really good balanced offense here. They're passing around 264 a game. That's good for 33rd. Rushing, just to kind of keep everybody up to date, 44th in the country in rushing at 180 yards a game. So 29th overall on offense, 28th on defense. So they're playing, very symmetrical on both sides of the ball here. So, Mike, how you feel about Texas State's passing attack?
Well, I said the Cajuns have been really good on pass defense this year. let's just hope they can stay that way. Gates looked really good against Costa, who we felt like had a good. I felt like at least had a good passing team. Um, they even did good against. I thought App State was a good team with passing, so I think the Cajuns are looking pretty good. I think this gonna be their toughest test yet, but um, we shall have a good enough defense to hold on.
Jalen, what you thinking?
I think that Cajuns defense going against a player in Jordan McLeod, who is a dual threat quarterback. He can beat you with his legs, he can beat you with his arm also, but then also in that backfield, you never know who he's going to throw it to. And like you said, you mentioned those names like a Hobart, and you got to look out there running back Ishmael Mahdi in the backfield who catches passes out the backfield too, who's explosive in his own right. So I think for Texas State to win this game, yes, they would have to run the ball. But as far as passing, I think the Cajuns, like Mike said, they're playing great defensively when it comes to the passing game. I think they're not allowing a lot as because in years past we used to talk about how, oh my God, the Cajuns, your pass defense, they're not great, but they've been showing us the last 4 games right now, this win streak they've been going, that they're playing great. And they gave up 24 to Coastal, they gave up 24 to App State, 13 to Southern Miss. That's the defense as a whole. I think overall defense is stepping up this year, but can they play even better? Absolutely, and I think they're going to show that in prime time against Texas State.
Yeah, I've noticed over the last couple of games, the Cajuns have been getting more pressure on the quarterback and even getting some more sacks here lately. So that is something that is a encouraging sign that we were talking about earlier in the season. Can the Cajuns, they finally got a sack. We were so excited when they actually did against Southern Miss there. And that is something that the Cajuns are, you know, I think if they can get in the pocket and disrupt McLeod and get him flush out of there. He's a dual threat quarterback, but if you set a spy in the linebacker core, like maybe Casey Osai spy on McLeod there, you're going to limit him and you're going to have to put pressure on him to make him try to use his feet as much as he possibly can and maybe throw in the distress. And that's what, we saw against Old Dominion, that 2 interceptions that he threw. So it's something that the Cajuns are going to have to do here. If they're able to get pressure on him, I think they'll be able to get the job done against Texas State here. So that's something to look forward to. I do think the Cajuns match up pretty well to Texas State, though. I do think, like, if you look at it, positional groups and how receivers against secondary, I think the Cajuns do have what it takes to keep up with these receivers when we get down there on next Tuesday. So there's that there. So without further ado, I know this is probably Mike's favorite part of the episode here. Let me pull this up real quick here. There it is. Sunbelt picks. Mike, is this your favorite segment?
It's always my favorite. I don't know. I just like looking at games. I don't know. I'm wrong a lot of the times, but I like to think sometimes I can get right.
Hey, 9 times out of 10, you wouldn't have a chance like this. And that is a quote from our good buddy, Juicy. We definitely miss Juicy. So anyway, let's see. I'm trying to see my little thing's not popping up. All right, let me just go pull it up on here. Give me a second. Oof. I don't know why it didn't do that there. Little technical difficulties here. So let's see. Let me pull up Sunbelt. All right. So Georgia Southern on Thursday. Mike, who you got?
Like I said before, I think Georgia Southern is doing a lot better than I expected this year. I'm gonna go with Georgia Southern. They're looking pretty good.
Jalen, what you thinking?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Georgia Southern. Also, they beat a JMU team a week ago, who last year we saw what the JMU squad did on the football field. But as far as going on this year, Georgia Southern's going to get the win against Old Dominion.
That JMU squad is known as Indiana this year. Um, Georgia Southern, I think they'll take this against Old Dominion here. Like I said, and we've all basically said this. And you really brought it up, Jalen. That it was definitely an easier path for them compared to the Cajuns in the West when it comes to prospects of the Sun Belt championship game. I got Georgia Southern winning this one though. I think they'll get bowl eligibility with this win. Georgia State going on the road to Boone to take on App State. Mike, we got two winless teams in the Sun Belt conference record wise. Who gets their first conference win?
I think App State gets their first win. I think they bounce back after the difficulties they've been having this season. I think they bounce back and get their first win in Sun Belt play.
What you thinking, Jalen?
See, it's tough when you got two teams that's you said 0-3, bottom of the barrel right there in the East. But I'm gonna go with App State, the home team. I'm gonna go with App State.
I'm gonna go with App State as well. I think the Mountaineers get the job done there in Boone in front of the home crowd to record their first conference win. All right, Southern Miss going on the road to take on James Madison. Mike, what you
Well,
thinking?
Jalen brought up earlier, Southern Miss fired their head coach today, and I think everybody saw that one coming a mile away. Um, I do think that think James Madison bounces back from this one as well. Give me James Madison.
Jalen, what you thinking?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with JMU in this one. I know that it does suck when you fire your head coach in the middle of the season. Your team wants to rally and try to at least pick up some more wins, but it's not gonna happen against JMU.
I think JMU takes care of business here. I mean, they're 24.5 point favorites in this game here. So, with the news of Will Hall being fired today, hurts for Southern Miss and them. So, former UL offensive coordinator Will Hall. So, uh, I think James Madison does pick up this win against Southern Miss, though. ULM 5-1, 3-0 in the Sun Belt, taking on South Alabama 3-4 and 2-1 in the Sun Belt here. This is a huge game for South Alabama. Mike, do they? Well, they're 7.5 point favorites. Vegas is thinking they pull this out. What you thinking,
I think
Mike?
they pull off the W. I think. Actually, yeah, I gotta go with Monroe on this one. They're a much better team than everybody, and I mean everybody expected because they were picked dead last in a lot of polls for the preseason to finish in college football, and here they are, top of the Sun Belt. So give me Monroe.
What you think, Jalen?
Yeah, South Alabama needs this win, and it would be a huge win for them at home against this ULM team, especially ULM team's playing great. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think ULM is going to go to South Al and pick up the win.
I've been thinking about this one. South Alabama has this weird way of whenever you think they can't do it, they end up doing it here. Vegas doesn't think this is an upset pick, but I think in the real world, this would be an upset pick. Give me South Alabama to ruin ULM's perfect Sun Belt Conference record. Because if you look at throughout South Alabama's history, if there's a team that looks like they're gonna run away from it, South Al, they're like, yeah, you know what, we're gonna mess it up for everybody, and then they end up and then they put themselves in a good position. They end up messing themselves up. It's kind of in their DNA so far. So, give me South Alabama. Troy taking on Arkansas State. What you thinking, Mike?
I think Arkansas State wins this one. Troy has not looked good at all this year. I'm gonna go with Arkansas State.
Jalen, what you thinking?
Yeah, I know when I said Troy wasn't going to three-peat, I didn't know they were going to be last in the Sun Belt. So I'm sorry, Troy. But they're struggling this year. I think Arkansas State is going to pick up the win.
I got Arkansas State beating Troy. Troy fell off a cliff This is one of those, like, when you get read about a transfer portal, this is typically what happens. It sucks for them. Like, it really does. Hard to see that happen to Troy. On that good run they had for those 2 years, I think Arkansas State picks up the win, though. So, all right, y'all. I felt like we had a pretty good episode here so far. Mike, any closing thoughts you want here?
No, just the Cajuns keep on doing better and better. Like I said, I wish they need to work on the penalties. I feel like the Cajuns could clean up the penalties and the tackling. I feel like the Cajuns have a much better chance of winning more games this year. So we'll have to see if they can fix that. But overall, the Cajuns are doing a really good job. And let's hope they keep it up.
Jalen, what you thinking?
Hey, the Cajuns just need to keep doing what they're doing, keep winning, keep playing well, keep looking at film, and any mistakes that's being made out there, like Mike said, with the missed tackles, to try to clean those up. And who knows, another Sun Belt championship run in the making. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here this weekend in the Sun Belt and what happens next Tuesday. It's going to be a fun one here to see what's going to happen here. Episode here, the Fish Bowl Radio. We hope you have a great, wonderful day, and we'll see you here next time.